Hello out there, YouTube and helicopter enthusiasts. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about Microgear's new Apache AH-64 longbow coaxial contra-rotating 4-channel RC helicopter. Now, it's a very cool looking helicopter. It uses what's called a sliding swash plate instead of a traditional leaning swash plate. It's a little bit harder to adjust properly and get centered right, so you're going to spend a little time messing with that. If you're in the American buying zone, you're going to not like that it comes with a mode 1 transmitter, which means your roll and your yaw are going to be switched about. And I wasn't very happy about that when I found that out, but in the midst of my preparations for a heli carry, I remembered I had another controller that just so happened to use the exact same frequency crystal, 72.210 megahertz, and a little bit nicer controller, so I decided to go with that since, I've been training on mode 2 for quite some time now. So make sure if you do pick one of these up for $89.99 that you check your transmitter first before you start flying, because you're going to want to know what your controls do. So let's see how she looks in the air, shall we? I'll go ahead and tell you right up front that she's a little twitchier, not quite as precise as a vehicle with a normal swash plate. At least right out the box, that is. I'm sure she can be very precisely tuned, but like most traditional swash plates, it's a little sensitive, and it's not quite as precise when it comes to tuning it. When it comes to your transmitter, I don't know if you like mode 1 or mode 2, but I personally like my pitch and roll on one axis and my thrust and my yaw on a separate axis. I think it's the logical way to do it, but that's just us here in the States, I guess, and make sure you get that in mind before you buy one.